Good day to all. Welcome to Extreme Recap. No one was prepared for the discovery that scientists have made at the edge of the universe. The narrative begins when an alarm sounds and the fire suppression systems activate in a spaceship laboratory. Two men are arguing, and one of them asserts that his partner has lost his mind. We hear this. After a fight breaks out, one of them intimidates the other with pliers. The odd ship outside is shown to us. In the middle of a bright light, it is round. Harold Richards, the ship's lieutenant colonel and pilot, wakes up at 6 o'clock on another ship and immediately performs a few push-ups before getting on the exercise bike. Dr. Abe Anderson, his partner, wants to sleep more. But he still reluctantly gets up and makes some coffee. He gives the drink some alcohol. Following his workout, Harold examines a B flask in the laboratory and enters some information into a log book. After that, he gives food to an electric eel that lives in an aquarium on the ship. In the end, he uses a periscope to look around. He only sees darkness, though. Additionally, their ship is rounded, with one side absorbing light and the other producing smoke-like material. While Harold, who is in control, goes about his responsibilities, his accomplice Abe sits idle. After completing his duties, he watches television, tries on sunglasses, and consumes alcohol from sachets. Harold makes himself some espresso and plunks down on the love seat, shoved aside an entire heap of liquor bans. Anderson is informed by Richards that they are getting close. Abe, on the other hand, believes that their mission is pointless because they are even further away from their destination. Harold leaves with solemnity as he gets up. On the next morning, Harold does his push-ups once more and heads to the lab here. He re-enters the information on the honeybees while it keeps on dozing. Harold then throws a fish into the aquarium with the electric eel and coincidentally drops his pen into the water. The man makes an effort to grab it. Furthermore, the tactical labels on his neck end up in the water, as well. Harold is killed when the eel accidentally touches the metal tokens. The ship loses power for a few seconds while the man falls. Abe wakes up and heads outside to see Harold leaving the room. The man quickly sees his accomplice's body in an attack of craziness. Abe carries Harold across the ship by slinging a bag over him. After opening the airlock and placing his coworker's body inside, the man hesitates before pulling the lever and sending him into space. He goes to the control room to try to understand how everything works. He asks the computer how far away they are from Earth at the very edge of the universe. However, this cannot be calculated by the computer. The ship keeps flying into the unknown and darkness. Anderson walks out of the cockpit. He awakens near the compartment for the airlock. He appears to have fallen asleep there, missing his friend. As he ascends from the floor, he coincidentally raises a ruckus around town and the boat tosses the sack detachable. In a panic, Abe runs to the periscope, which confirms his fears. The body of his partner disappears into space. Abe, who is perplexed, must now proceed on his own. While the ship is surrounded by stormy weather, the man relapses to sleep. Abe is jolted awake by lightning. A huge electric stingray that has encircled the ship is visible to the terrified man as he approaches the portholes. The shocked man lies on the and consumes another sachet of alcohol. After getting sober, he returns to film of him and Harold film in their journey. The host is informed by Anderson that one of the secondary objectives was to observe how weightlessness affected honeybees. The study's findings, however, are inconclusive due to the short lifespan of the insects. Harold adds that they likewise had a pinball machine, yet it broke. The moderator explains how things stand with the primary objective. Will they soon reach the universe's end? Help figures it will be quite a while before they see it. However, when they stop seeing stars, he is certain that they will reach their destination. The communication is over. Furthermore, Abe makes another arrangement of wires, putting it around his neck. He mentally says goodbye to his wife by pulling out a picture of her. The ship is suddenly jolted by something. Convulsions occur as the man loses his balance. Abe reaches the window pod by climbing up. A bright white light blinds him. The man excitedly puts on his glasses and tries to tell what's outside the ship from inside. We are taken somewhere. Dr. Weatherford is giving a talk at a conference 13 years ago. She demonstrates theoretical calculations while discussing the forthcoming space mission. Abe is then summoned from the audience and introduced to the other scientists by her. As a remarkable sea life scholar, the specialist is glad that on account of Anderson, they will before long be investigating all their hypothetical speculations by and by. A scientist in the audience believes that such a mission is enormous. Pointless gamble, and they ought to concentrate on their hypotheses in more detail. Weatherford, on the other hand, claims that the risk is entirely legitimate. He then calls Harold from the hall, who has already been chosen to pilot the module. The doctor is certain that they will accomplish their objective. This significant event is captured by Harold Shakespeare, his hand, as well as by journalists and photographers. The process of preparing supplies for his space travel is described in the next section. The scientist is examined along the way. Read his rights and asked questions. Specialist Weatherford is incredibly interested by the multiverse. She argues that the universe is much more complex than previously thought as she examines the board with her calculations. She is of the opinion that the universe's fictitious nature should not be underestimated. However, the concept of reaching its conclusion is beyond comprehension. It is beyond imagining. Abe loses consciousness suddenly and is completely lost. He is being revived by the nurses. They request that he sign some documents. Additionally, the doctor advises taking into account the scientist's low stress tolerance. After training, Harold returns. He encourages and supports Abe. Dr. Weatherford develops excitement regarding the upcoming astronauts. Abe regains consciousness then suddenly. The story moves back to the spaceship in their excursion. When Harold was still alive, he tries to fix the airlock when he sees that something is wrong. However, there is no working waste disposal system. Thus, they must manually operate the lever. Abe chuckles as he looks at the lever as Harold warns him that this will be tedious. The teammates still have a lot of energy and are enjoying their time aboard the ship. Together with Richards, Anderson manages the bees. He suddenly realizes that Harold is breaking protocol by feeding the eel himself sardines. Harold ignores the scientist's warnings that this is extremely risky because he enjoys it. Anderson writes something down at night, looks through the periscope, and sees one of the galaxies in front of him. Abe later brings out a supply bag while Harold is not looking. Sardine jars spill out of it. The man then rushes to bring them back inside. After that, he puts the suitcase in the airlock and tosses it into a free space so Harold doesn't have to feed the eel and put himself in danger. He walks over to Harold control pod, content with his work. Abe walks in on Harold as he pilots the ship and asks him why he is pressing so many buttons when the ship is on autopilot. A red button on the control panel lights up all of a sudden. Abe prevents Harold from pressing it in his haste. He is having fun and wants to see what will transpire if nothing is done. Harold resents his accomplice and unexpectedly hits him upside the head. Abe only laughs because Harold has not yet pressed the button, but the ship does not actually move. Harold wonders if his work is useful as a result of this. The man also sends a query to the computer when Abe leaves, asking if he should press those buttons. Harold asks Abe about the sardines the following day. Anderson grins and illuminates him that he sent them into space. Harold assaults his accomplice, yet Abe sees that ease of now hit him. Instead, Richard halts and rips a picture of Anderson's wife. As Abe examines the photo that has been torn, he suddenly begins to hear a strange sound coming from a different area of the ship. When the man goes to the sound, he suddenly enters a room full of people. These are the people who greet the two teammates when they are sent to the edge of the universe at the beginning of the movie. The space explorers thank those present and give an impromptu speech of room. This is the means by which he drinks a sasha of liquor interestingly and before long beginning drinking more. Even further back in time, we are transported. It's one more day. Abe enters the laboratory. Here, he inspects a few dead honeybees subsequent to checking out at one of them through a magnifying lens. He discovers that it died of an unknown cause. He returns to the room with windows, where he enjoys a view of the galaxy filled with stars. The same daily routine that has been going on for years returns each morning. Abe rests on the love seat and nods off. Harold finds that there is a problem with the automatic yield feeder. After searching the ship for his companion and ascending to the window chamber, he discovers that the stars are still visible. Shortly thereafter, he finds his coworker asleep. Abe admits with regret that he has not completed his day's tasks. Harold, on the other hand, contends that rest is necessary for everyone. The following day the arcade machine will be fixed by Abe. He works with a lot of sensors and wires, but suddenly there is a short circuit, and he can't fix it. Harold feeds the eel from a can of sardines at the same time. Late at night, Richards inquires about Anderson's ability to repair the machine. Abe answers that he isn't, however that he has made himself a jewelry and armbands out of wires. Harold tells his accomplice to avoid anything dumb. When Abe goes to look at his jewelry, when he opens his locker, a picture of his wife comes out. The man is happy because he believed he had lost. The narrative is brought back. It's another day on the spaceship. Harold cheerfully inquired about Save's daytime plans. Anderson responds that because the hive is already prepared for harvesting, he must work on the bees today. Harold declares that he adores space and is overjoyed by the news. Honey Anderson visits the laboratory, where bees are still alive. He keeps the information in the perception log and change the progression of gas to the hive. When the work is done, Abe enters the window-lined room. Now, the ship's view is very different. All that outside is awash in orange light. The astronauts are still able to observe the sun as if in awe, suggesting that this is only the beginning of the journey. Abe continues to admire the picture of his wife as he takes it out of the frame and holds it up to the glass. Harold and Abe meet and joyfully share their perceptions. The bees are still buzzing and the ship is still moving. Abe reports that space honey can be collected as early as the following day. The team members go into the control room. Abe has never been here before. He glances around and inquires as to whether he knows. Richards responds with assurance and compares. Driving a jet ski only in space, steering the ship. The ship experiences an abrupt event. Late at night, Harold uses the still-running machine to play. He expects to establish another standard in the game, however help occupies him in the game finishes. In the meantime, a massive orange object is approaching the spaceship. The day is new. Honey and Harold go to the pantry for bread while Abe prepares to gather space. Around the ship, mysterious flashes occur frequently. Harold is observed by Abe when he returns to the portholes. Harold, who typically dislikes being in the room, is unable to comprehend why Abe finds this location so appealing. Anderson responds that he enjoys looking at the planets and stars because they are beautiful. Abe wonders why Richard decided to go on the mission and leave her when he says with sadness that his wife is prettier. From the beginning, Harold answers that his nation asked him to, however subsequently adds that the fundamental explanation is the huge tax cuts for the family. He was unable to decline this offer. Abe, on the other hand, claims that science forced him to continue. What will they discover? The men consider. They were wrong to think there was more out there. There might even be a different reality out there in a different universe. Abe is currently setting new records with enthusiasm on the arcade machine. Harold brings bread and mentions the honey to his partner. They taste the space honey and keep on talking about their families and their explanations behind consenting to the flight. Harold snaps a photo of Abe's spouse and considers how he might have abandoned her. Since his wife left him, Anderson says with regret, he wanted to fly as far away as he could, not because of science. Once more, Abe is unable to keep his hands off the arcade machine. Abe realizes that the machine is broken when it suddenly begins making strange noises. A ship alarm goes off at the same time. According to the system, the lab's insect population has begun to decrease. Every one of the honey bees fall dormantly to the lower part of the hive as the night progressed. Abe experiences difficulty resting and is pondering his significant other. He lies down on his side. The following day, Harold finds Abe's notebook and discovers drawings of himself in it. We also get a brief glimpse of two additional astronauts seated at a table. He inquires about it with his partner. Furthermore, Abe affirms that it is the group of Harold, still alive. Richards is unsure of what Anderson means when he says that this is a positive sign. Harold suddenly lashes out at his partner, believing he wants to hurt him, despite Abe's assurance that he will explain later. Richard demands that Anderson explain why he keeps drawing his body and threatens him with pliers. Abe claims that Harold was drawn by him after the accident. He draws pictures of various things he remembers. Harold believes Abe is insane, but Anderson explains that the bees were the beginning. He made many portraits and afterward began drawing their bodies, and the honeybees did to be sure die. Harold perceives an image of himself in which the eel is electrocuting him, and this event can be seen in multiple universes. Abe is watching this with us. Abe is unable to adequately explain it. He is sketching as he tries to remember what will happen and when. Additionally, Abe believes that all of this does not just affect them. For sure, we see two different accomplices talking about similar issues, right? Richards can't get over the idea that the eel will kill him in Abe and Harold roam. He continues to be baffled as to how Abe knows. Anderson is unaware of his own circumstances. He shows his partner additional drawings, one of which depicts white fishermen in the dark. Harold, in the meantime, attempting to sort out precisely the way that the eel can hurt him, lethally plunges his hand into the aquarium and gets an electric shock. Abe picks up a bag, but then he suddenly looks at his fisherman drawing. Again, he hurries to the porthole at once to check out what's outside. But only sees shadow. Harold has taken the pliers, so the man rushes to a bundle of wires and tries to break them apart. He turns the body over and returns to his partner, where he finds the plier sticking out of his chest. Abe takes the instrument, returns to the wires and cuts one of them, hearing a bizarre sound. He pulls the whole pack toward him. The ship shakes and the wires start to spark. Abe dashes to the porthole and watches as the ship veers off course and crashes into the darkness. Like a wall, the darkness begins to crack and soon shatters into splendors. Abe watches as the ship crashes into the darkness. The darkness is replaced by white light that is blinding. We suddenly see a home. He switches off with the remote, saying he's as of now seen this previously. He meets his wife when he enters the yard. Unexpectedly, a phone rings in the house. Abe comes back to respond. Anderson is informed by Dr. Weatherford that the position for which he applied has already been filled. A helper who is lost picks up a newspaper that has a picture of two other astronauts on it. The narrative returns to the spacecraft in which the remaining astronauts are traveling. They are in serious danger. When one of the men tries to fix a system problem, he cuts the wrong way. Darkness consumes the ship as it collapses. What do you figure occurred on the boat? Could all that happened be only a fantasy of Abe's creative mind, or did the heroes find the multiverse? Turn on notifications. Please subscribe for more videos like this, and like the channel to support it. Thank you very much for watching.